It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical, Mainz and Dutts. I'm your host, Mainz, and my colleague in the danger zone in Rainford, to Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
I know you've said in the past that I won a Super Bowl and I can't bitch for 5 years, but in the space of the opening salvos of this new year, that was supposed to be better than the last year, by English football team that have destroyed my hopes and aspirations for nearly 30 years, fired their manager, and then have had 2 games postponed because of a COVID outbreak. They've also had their owner come out and essentially call fans customers. And then the head coach who wins said Super Bowl gets fired.
We weren't necessarily going to do head coaches this week, as there's 4 games and we want to look at wildcard losers, and hopefully next week we're going to have John Barshard on, the voice of the East, as we know as Money Smith is the voice of the West Coast, to talk Eagles. And obviously that at the moment there's no head coach has been hired yet, but we may as well do it now because it'd be ridiculous if we didn't. It went from God, that was a bad year, and the quarterback needs to go, God, that's a bad year, we're going to get rid of the quarterback, to, hey, I'm just going to interview the head coach and see how it goes. And then I'm going to interview him again. Oh wait, before I interview him again, I'm going to fire his ass. Not exactly, slow process. And I guess if they were going to fire him, they needed to do it before other people got hired. But it wasn't something I was expecting.
Wasn't something you were expecting. I did say, if you remember earlier in the season, I was detecting Dick Vermeil vibes from Doug. So I didn't know what was going to come of it. I didn't expect him to stand down because he was burnt out. But all indications are he won a Super Bowl and had essentially no power, wasn't able to call any shots, wasn't able to hire his own staff, and he was fed up with it. Which is why, someone asked him the other day, and he said he was at peace with no longer being the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, I'm glad you are, Doug. I'm not, as essentially we are forced to go into an off-season to hire another head coach who has to sit alongside a general manager who can't evaluate talent, has let the cap get to astonishingly bad levels, and who has now seen off the last 3 head coaches he fell out with. So this is such an enticing job that a head coach is going to come in and realise that when the power struggle comes, and it will, he's going to lose, because for all intents and purposes the general manager is the owner's son.
What I find quite interesting, there's a multitude of things that's quite interesting, that if we look at Howie Roseman, for example, who was a genius and a cap wizard a mere 2 years ago, 18 months ago, I don't know, wasn't that long ago, now looks like a guy who knows where all the bodies are buried. As you said, has seen off 3 head coaches. I mean, he's won a Super Bowl, right? Like, I'm going to say he's won a Super Bowl. He's been involved in the process of winning a Super Bowl. But to see off 3 head coaches is a serious effort. You don't see that very often. What I would also say is, and I was thinking about this today, is if I told you, and we didn't know the name of the team, that the owner had got involved and decided that he was going to pick his quarterback over his head coach who'd won him a Super Bowl because he wants his quarterback to be successful. Name me, and that team was in the NFC East. I assume you would think at least 2 other teams would exist before you would pick the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, absolutely.
The hidden thing in this concept is, this is a Cowboys and Washington, I'm going to say Washington Redskins play done by the Philadelphia Eagles, which is mind-blowing.
Now, apparently, when he was asked, thoughts on his coaching staff, Doug Peterson wanted to promote Press Taylor, who was the quarterback coach and passing game coordinator, to offensive coordinator, and I think it was Marcus Marquand to be defensive coordinator. Marquand has not been successful, and promoting the passing game coordinator and quarterback coach in the season where your quarterback suffered historic regression and your passing game looked awful, it looked like it was either no, this is my coaching staff, take it or leave it. And to me, it smacks of a kind of take it or leave it. Please don't take it, and I'll go.
There's a documentary in there, Neil, a HBO or ESPN 30 for 30, and I'm sure we will find out about it soon enough. I mean, as you said, we will talk to John next week. He was much closer than we are in terms of what's going on, and we assume that this time next week the Eagles will be much closer to hiring a new head coach, and we will see who that is and what that means for a number of players and a number of people in the organisation.
The Saints went 7-9 3 years in a row. Sean Payton kept his job. Doug has one bad year, and it was a bad year. Let's not sugarcoat it. The Eagles were terrible, but all of a sudden he's the problem.
You do have to question the backlash of that final game and what other players thought about it. And we don't really know what the Eagles locker room thought about it, but we know what other former players thought about it. How much that has exacerbated and sped up a decision that would probably maybe have been another year down the line.
Yeah, very important to, of course, make sure the feelings of players who took you to a 4-11-1 record, make sure their feelings aren't hurt by the actions of a head coach in a meaningless final season game. Very, very important that those people who are stealing Jeffrey Lurie's money aren't upset. Very, very important.
When you draft Devontae Smith and he's an All-Pro, there will be a think piece in 2025 about how playing Nate Sudfeld in said game got you a top wide receiver in the NFL.
How far away is your house from mine, roughly, mileage?
About 250 miles.
If the Eagles draft a wide receiver with the 6th pick in the NFL draft in 2021, you'll hear the swearing.
But it'll be fun, though.
I don't have the blood pressure for your fun, I'm afraid.
I don't. One does not care for your blood pressure.
Quite
one
clearly.
one cares for content
and comedy,
and getting a guy who can't play because he got a sore finger in the second half. His coach's comments, not mine, is where we go. Let's actually get on with the show. This week we're going to look back at the wildcard losers and look at what's next for them and if they're happy with where they are going into the 2021 season. And then we're going to look at the divisional round games. 4 great games, as always, probably the best weekend of football each year. And we'll give you our picks and answer a pertinent question in relation to said games. So first of all, Neil, let's get on and talk about the wildcard losers. Again, as I said, we'll talk about what's next and should they be happy with their position going into 2021. We'll do it in a loser order from when the games came Saturday and Sunday. So first team is the Indianapolis Colts. So I guess for them, the big question is the same as it was this time last year, right? What do you do at quarterback? Yeah,
they do seem to have an awful lot else in place that would make them feel happy. They're going to have to obviously find a left tackle because Anthony Costanzo has retired. Talk that Quentin Nelson might move out to there. There's nothing on this earth that I wouldn't back Quentin Nelson to do. in an aggressive and effective manner.
I'm gonna just come in here. I take my notes on offensive line in a podcast sense from Robert Mays, who absolutely utterly hates this decision. As he quite puts it, why would you make yourself worse at two positions? You've got the best left guard in the game. Why would you take that away to move him to left tackle? But anyway, please carry on.
Yeah, this is the classic Madden. He's 95 at left guard, but he'll be 85 at left tackle. Okay, so we'll move him, and then it's footnote. Real life ain't Madden.
No, true.
There's a lot to like about the Colts. We know, their backward identity, of course, is they want to run the ball, and the back end of the season showed that Jonathan Taylor, something came on, a light switch came on that showed he looked like he could be an NFL bell cow, I suppose, as he was averaging nearly 20 opportunities a game the last 7 weeks of the season. They need a few more playmakers in the passing game, especially. I mean, T.Y., it was a nice story, had a few weeks of relevance, but he faded. Michael Pittman looks decent, but at times he was still losing out on targets to Zach Pascal. I think the core is there, but as we've said frequently, if you don't have a quarterback, it doesn't really matter.
In another universe, they win that game on Saturday. I mean, I think we'll get onto a few teams who made really bad decisions in situations, and the Colts were one of them. I think they got to the red zone 5 times and scored twice. They pinned the Buffalo Bills back numerous times into their starting field position was unbelievable for the Bills, and they couldn't make it work. And it wouldn't be a Phil Rivers game if he didn't have the ball in the final 2 minutes with a chance to win the game. Like, that's how the world works, right? I think they need to do something at quarterback, not because Phil Rivers wasn't good this year, but it was a stopgap decision. What do you do?
Yeah. What
can you do? A lot of talk will have been on Carson Wentz, right? With the links to Frank Reich. I think that's gone now. I think the Eagles have decided that he's going to be their quarterback based on the fact they fired their head coach. Do you look at Sam Darnold? Do you try and get another quarterback? I don't know. We shall see. It's a funny position to be in. If they come back with Rivers, I think they still need to get they need to have someone available to take over in 2022, but we'll see where we go from there.
Just another one as well, and this is relevant to that game. I'm getting sick and tired of seeing this argument blow up on Twitter every time it happens. The maths say you go for 2 early, not late. You do not leave it till the last play of the game to go for 2, because if it goes wrong, you've snookered yourself. You go for 2 earlier, people. This is the maths say you do it.
But people don't like maths, right? People don't like maths, so don't try and understand it.
It's so annoying. It's just it was they missed a field goal, and if they made the field goal, having gone for 2 and making it, they'd have been level. That's why you go for 2.
Yeah,
it's really not hard.
I understand maths. You don't need to explain it to me. I get it. Let's move on to a team that probably doesn't understand maths, or if they did, they still use an abacus, and that's the Seattle Seahawks.
Pathetic.
Sorry?
Pathetic.
They were terrible on Saturday. Of all of the 6 teams who lost, probably the most pathetic in terms, maybe not the biggest loss, but it just didn't go well. Luckily though, they're going to get back to running the ball, and they fired Brian Schottenheimer because he wasn't good enough at doing that, and I assume they're going to get a rock to call plays, or some other thing from the past. Yeah.
Anyone who remembers what I said about the Seahawks in our NFC West preview, and if you don't remember, just go back and listen. I call them an 8-8 organisation mindset. I call them an organisation with an 8-8 mindset. I was laughed at when they went, what did they finish? 11-5? 10-6?
12-4.
12-4, right. Finished 12-4 with an 8-8 mindset. Now, anyone who hoped that maybe this season they'd invest a bit of money in maybe a third wide receiver or a tight end, not happening. Because your coach has come straight out and said Russell Wilson throwing the ball was not good for this team. Because he had a little couple of weeks where he threw a few interceptions and then they started running on crap teams that they beat playing crap quarterbacks. And that just reinforced to Pete Carroll, my way was right. Stuff this 21st century bollocks. Seriously, paying one of the best quarterbacks in the league to hand off to a running back who is not probably going to be on the roster at the moment. Backward organisation. John Schneider's going nowhere. He signed a contract till 2027, I think. Pete Carroll, as I say, seems to be there for the long haul. Fine. We talk about players' primes being wasted. Russell Wilson's is being wasted. And now, sorry, I'll rephrase that. It's been wasted.
I was going to say, do you know how old Russell Wilson is?
He's 32, is he?
32.
32, yeah.
Lamar Jackson is 8 years younger than Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow is 8 years younger than Russell Wilson.
Yeah. One thing as well that annoyed me about this game, and this, it's not really the Seahawks' fault, I can't really blame this. 20 minutes of my life, at least, was spent listening to Joe Bloody Buck talking about DK Metcalf being upset that he'd been thrown a hospital pass. I know there's no crowds, Joe. I know it wasn't a good game. Shut the fuck up. If this is the first time a wide receiver's antics on the sideline have ever come to your attention, you need to watch more games.
To be fair, it's not
God,
though, because
go.
Because that exact day, many years ago, he lost his absolute shit when Randy Moss fake pulled his pants down at Lambeau Field.
Yeah, it was like, Joe, I can take or leave you. I know a lot of people dislike you heartily, whatnot. You make it very hard for me at times. And the times you make it hard for me are when you stick on points like that in the grand scheme of things don't make a lick of difference or matter.
You support Philadelphia, who are a tyre fire. I support Washington, who've been a tyre fire for 25 years. We've absolutely destroyed the Seattle Seahawks, and rightfully so, by the way, who again won 12 games in the NFC West. And every year, all we do is say, so this year, they stopped throwing it. The defence was crap. And he won 12 games. And I'm beginning to think I don't understand the NFL. Because they fly in the face. Oh, and by the way, the reason they're not going to sign more offensive skill players is they gave 2 first-round draft picks to a safety who can't cover me and you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, congratulations, Seattle. You've just signed Landon Collins. The same, but you had to give away 2 first-round draft picks. Enjoy that extra linebacker in the box for the team running the ball. But every time Cooper Kupp zooms past them, every time Robert Woods zooms past them, and you wonder why I can't beat this Rams team and I can't quite put my finger on it. The thing is, you're slow at the positions where they're not.
Do you know who Seattle are? Arsenal.
They're Arsenal, yeah, absolutely.
Finishing 4th will be fine. Why push ourselves to actually win it? 4th will be fine. We'll just get there. That'll be fine.
Every year we slag this team off, and every year if we talk fantasy, Russell Wilson's a top 8 quarterback. So we still pick him in the first round. Don't worry about it, because he'll still do stuff that'll get you the thing. But don't be expecting. Don't be buyer beware on DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett next year. Massive buyer beware.
Got a bloody good year for him. Won't again.
Let's move on to my team, the Washington Professional Football Team, Neil. Mm-hmm. Who won 5 less games than Seattle, are an infinitely worse run franchise than Seattle. So why do me and you think, ooh, things are on the up?
Because they managed at times to look competitive with a quarterback depleted offense, and went up against a bloody good defense, and with, I'm trying to think of a polite way to describe Tyler Heineke, a journeyman. Sorry, an aspiring journeyman.
He's like I don't even. Yeah, he was studying for a degree about half an hour ago.
I think Washington, the division they play in, obviously is a huge factor.
Correct.
In the sense that it's a shit show.
Yeah.
And could be up for grabs because essentially one team has ruled themselves out of it for 2021 already. But we come back to it's the same issue with the Colts. Quarterback is a problem.
Yeah.
Offensive weaponry for said quarterback is a problem. And I still think they could do better on the offensive line. Defensively, looks very good. Lots of building blocks in place. Won't matter.
So I'm gonna give 3 points, 4 points maybe. Point one, it's great having a great defense. It's not repeatable year on year. Nope. It's just not. That's just how the NFL works. I would like to congratulate Alex Smith on a wonderful career, and I wish him well in retirement, because he best be retiring. Daniel, this is me and you talking now. Year on year, you blew draft pick upon draft pick upon draft pick, getting Bruce Smith, Deion Sanders, Adam Archuleta, Robert Griffin. Get on the effing phone to Houston immediately and do not, I repeat, do not accept no until Deshaun Watson is wearing burgundy and gold. This is not complicated. This is not difficult. I don't want other draft picks. He can have them all. Good luck to them, Houston. I want Deshaun Watson. I want him immediately. As I said to Neil, and Neil, I heard today, and Neil also heard the same thing. Deshaun Watson completed 70% of his passes at over 8.5 yards an attempt over a 16-game season. He became the 4th quarterback to do that, and each quarterback's only done it once. The other 3 quarterbacks, Joe Montana won the Super Bowl, Steve Young won the Super Bowl, Drew Brees won the Super Bowl. Deshaun Watson went effing 4-12. He needs to be extricated from Houston immediately, and I'm more than willing to take him on board. My stump speech is over. Vote Watson 2021.
Yeah, very noble.
Thank you. Let's move on to Tennessee, Neil. I'm just going to put it out there, right? Dear NFL, teams looking for new head coaches. I understand why Robert Saleh is getting a look, because he seems like a wonderful coach. But when you're 4th and 1 in their side of the field, and he punts it, and you get mad, I won't have sympathy for you because you picked him. Because that's what Mike Vrabel did, because he's a defensive coach. And even if his team has been absolute and utter garbage on defense because they were doing well this week, he decides that that's a good idea to give the ball back to last year's MVP, who can break the pocket and run for 50 yards. What an absolute and utter moron.
Mike Vrabel, who last year said he would cut off his own penis if it meant getting to a Super Bowl, was then presented a chance of, look, we may as well go for this. We've got a 2,000-yard power back. Nah, just punt it. The defence has sacked him, Lamar a couple of times today, despite the fact it's been shite all season. Yeah, I believe in my guys. Your belief, not relevant here.
They're going to lose Arthur Smith? We
Possibly.
Assume, it's highly likely. And if they do, what happens to the offense? Because they have to hire someone else. And at the moment, can you name all the offensive coordinators who've been good with Ryan Tannehill?
Arthur Smith.
and the other one?
Mike Sherman.
No, he was a wide receiver for Mike. But yeah, exactly right. This is what we're saying. It was Arthur Smith. So this could be an issue. It might not be, but it could be. And also, I know we say defense year on year, but could you get some talent? And those guys at the front who try and hit the offensive lineman, any chance they could get past the offensive lineman and try and get the guy throwing the ball downfield, that would be cool, Tennessee.
I think it might help as well if they didn't have a defensive coordinator. We've seen plenty of times where the head coach can be an offensive coordinator, essentially. Kyle Shanahan is a prime example. Lots of the head coaches call their own plays anyway. Defense, you're reacting to too much to be the defensive coordinator and the head coach at the same time, because the defense is a reactionary position. So I don't agree with that. I don't think it's a good idea. But as you say, they need to get better on defense and in a hurry. They invested massive amounts of capital in Jadeveon Clowney and Vic Beasley at the start of the season, and they finished bottom of the NFL in sacks. If you want to run the ball like they do, and you want to build your offense on play action off running the ball, but running the ball is what makes your engine go, you have to play better on defense. It's as simple as that.
Let's move on to the Chicago Bears, who decided that instead of blowing it all up, they'd get the band back together, because the way they played in that playoff game and 8-8 is exactly where they need to be as a franchise.
You see, it's a well trotted out trope of Hollywood films of the one more job, and people think a lot of people do forget that at the end of the Italian Job, they didn't get the gold, so it wasn't successful. But I digress. We see things like like Ocean's 11. We'll get the guys back together, and it'll all work out perfectly. Whereas the Bears seem to be more like the wild geese, in that they're aging, past it veterans who are going to kid themselves that they can do this job one last time, and you can't. You're all going to die. Stuart Granger is going to sell you out. Believe me, I've seen this film before. It's a great film, Wild Geese, by the way. I heartily recommend you watch it just to see and marvel at the fact that in one film they had Richard Burton, Richard Harris, and Roger Moore. Oh, and Hardy Kruger, and didn't think they were going to get pissed all the time.
All the time, yeah.
No,
this film took 7 years to film.
Yeah. As I say, the Chicago Bears, you can't spell mediocrity without ME, and that's what the Bears have basically said. They basically, have said that Ryan Pace deserves another chance to pick a quarterback after blowing the last one, and Matt Nagy deserves a chance to run an offense with a quarterback that he might actually want.
So are they going to get rid of Mitchell then?
Well, he's a free agent, so the choice are, you franchise him, why would you? You sign him to a 1-year deal, why would you? Surely you've seen enough. Or, you give him a painting of a Spitfire and let him go. And ultimately, I think it's probably best for him. I think I heard this on, I forget which podcast it was. Was it Therese and Charles? Oh, no, I'll tell you who it was. It was Adam Rank. Sorry, it was our friend Adam. Go and be Patrick Mahomes' backup. Because you'll never play, apart from a couple of week 17s in a couple of years when your contract's up. And, you'll blow everything up because you're the Chiefs. And people might think, oh, do you know, we should sign him in free agency. Then you'll flame out again, and he can go back to the Chiefs for another couple of years and just be, obviously, you can't wear 10. That's Tyreek's number, but I think Mitchell will look good in red, holding a clipboard. Although no one holds a clipboard anymore, it's all the Microsoft Surface. He's not good enough to play to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. Now, he made a few plays that his teammates let him down foot with. That
can we talk about that play? Can we talk about
it? It was terrible.
No, but I want to. Why I want to do it is, that was only the second time the whole year that Mitchell Trubisky had thrown a ball over 30 yards, air yards, and the guy he plays it. It's actually really good play calling previous to it, and then does it, and then the dude drops it. Ironically enough, while it's a kids show about slime and fools. Do you know what I mean? So it's a perfect situation to be in.
The thing is, though, it did hit Javon Wims in the worst possible place.
His hands.
Yeah. So, we'll remember that. By the way, I say, Iron Eagle's son. No, sorry, this is a Boba Fett, Jango Fett situation. He's not really your son, is he, Iron? He's just a clone.
Pretty cool. Good luck to Chicago. In the NFL, the worst place to be is in the middle. And right now, you're in the middle with no money and two lame ducks at head coach and GM who are going to try and spend all their money that you do have and make gambles that you shouldn't do to try and win so they can get a new contract. Just so you know, narrator voice, it ended badly.
Yeah, that comes back to that. Never play cards against someone whose surname is the same as a city. And that's what they're basically going to have to do when it comes to signing a quarterback. It'll be, hey, Tex Cleveland here thinks we can get by with Jameis. Oh, that sounds interesting.
Oh, Jameis, my God, get me James Dixon start. Final team, Neil. Speaking of teams with quarterbacks, or lack of, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know how you can live in a world where your quarterback threw for 500 yards. And 50 completions or whatever it was, and think, oh my God, he's so done, it's unbelievable. Oh, but by the way, he's a $41 million cap hit this year.
Yeah, this is the problem that people say about fourth quarter comebacks. Yeah, it's a great stat because it shows the never say die ability of these field generals. Now let's look at why these teams needed to come back in the fourth quarter. I went to bed, I didn't watch it because it's not too late and I'm old. But I did wake up in the middle of the night, just check my phone, and I saw the teams, and I saw 28-0 first quarter. I was like, oh dear. And then I thought, I'll just go onto Twitter while I'm still, blurry-eyed. And I saw all these tweets about how awful Roethlisberger looked. I was thinking, are these all sarcastic? They're winning 28-0. And I thought, hang on. Eyes have opened a bit now. Go back to it. I was like, oh my God. And I can't say it's been coming because, the defence has not been bad. So I was looking at it thinking, how the hell has this happened then? Obviously, I knew about the snap going over his head and the interceptions and whatnot. Ben Roethlisberger has not looked good for at least 3 months. He had one game against the Colts where he looked good in the second half because basically he started ignoring his offensive coordinator who got fired today. His contract would not be renewed. Yeah, he's not getting the Spitfire painting. He's not getting thought of glowingly by his head coach. And
you won't be asking for a reference, let's just put it like that, right?
No. You have to look at this team. If there's one thing the Pittsburgh Steelers know how to do, it's draft wide receivers. So we have no qualms the fact that Juju's probably gone. Doesn't really matter. This is the worst rushing team I've ever seen that called itself the Pittsburgh Steelers. Probably the worst for many a year. The defence was good, but started creaking towards the back end of the season. And they have that massive albatross of what do you do with Ben Roethlisberger? Because, as you say, cap-wise, they're screwed. It's going to cost an absolute fortune to get rid of him. It's going to cost a fortune to keep him. But where they're going to be picking in the draft, they're not going to get anyone. So, it's a tough situation.
And I think we're big Mike Tomlin fans as a human and a man, and some of the crap he must have had to put up with. But how many times does he have to lay a massive egg in the playoffs before people go, hey Mike, probably should stop that? This dude's been beaten by Tim Tebow, Blake Bortles, and now by a team without a head coach.
They've conceded 40 plus points in their last 2 home playoff games to Blake Bortles and a team without a head coach. Impressive.
You can't argue it. You can't argue with facts, can you? And that's not good. Good luck, Pittsburgh. I don't know how far you can stretch that salary out when he retires, but you've got to hope he retires. Right. let's move on and let's look at the divisional rounds, Neil. Well, again, we'll do them in order. Some really good games, and then also a retirement match to finish us off.
Please wait. I really hope it is as well.
That'd be awesome. That would be. But the problem is, one of them should retire, and one of them is getting better. We'll come on to that.
He's healing up.
Yeah, exactly right. He's literally Ultimate Warrior, not the racist guy with the mustache.
No, with the worst finishing move in wrestling history.
Terrible finishing move.
You've dropped a leg on me. Oh, I must be knocked out. Brilliant.
We could do, honest to God, we could do an hour on it, but I'm not going to. I'm just not. I flipping hated Hulk Hogan. Right, first game, Rams at Packers. Packers are favoured by 6.5. The over/under is 45.5. Everybody who listens to the show will be shocked to hear rumours of snow in Wisconsin in January. So enjoy that, LA Rams. Also, you'll all be shocked to hear that Aaron Donald is saying he's fit and raring to go. He's been on the injury report twice in his career. His career's been 112 NFL game weeks. Tom Brady was probable and on the injury report for 6 years. But anyway, I digress. My question on this is, can the Rams defense keep this game close?
Put simply, yes. The Rams defense at the moment, excellent article by Robert Mays in The Athletic, looking at the fact that they're basically, a lot of teams are running this cover 3, cover 1, one high safety, and hope your corners can win their one-on-one matchups. Whereas the Rams essentially are playing two split safeties, and essentially saying, look, you're not going to throw deep on us, so you're going to have to throw in front of us. So basically, essentially you're saying to a team, look, if you want to, you can pass on us, but you're going to have to do it in 5-6 yard chunks. And I think if teams pass and only get 5 yards of a reception, they tend to think it's not working, and get a little panicky and think they're going to have to do something clever. Now, obviously, they're going against the probable MVP in his wheelhouse. As you say, cold, snowy Wisconsin. But this defense is very good. It's probably the best defense in the NFL. The problem I have is, it's as you say, the Rams' defense is going in there to try and keep this game close, because ultimately, I just don't think Jared Goff is very good, and I don't think he can trade punches with Aaron Rodgers. We do know that the Packers' defense wants you to run on it, and we know that the Rams will want to run on it. It's just a question of, which team do you back to say, okay, we need a big play now? I think you'd have to back the Packers, because they're not just going to do what other teams do with their stud wide receiver and just let Jalen Ramsey cover him. They're going to move Devontae Adams around.
I was going to say that, Neil, that obviously that if you just look at it without knowing the X's and O's, and not that we are experts, you assume that.
Speak for yourself.
Well, I will. I'm not. You wouldn't. You'd say, oh, well, Jalen Ramsey will probably do the same thing to Devontae Adams that he did to DK Metcalf. But if I take you back 20 minutes in the show, the Seahawks are cavemen when it comes to offense, and the Packers aren't. Also, I don't think anyone would describe Devontae Adams as a natural X-receiver. So I think he will be all over the field, which will make it much tougher for Jalen Ramsey to cover. It's interesting because there's a few games, and I'm not a big let's run the ball to let's take the air out the game, that kind of situation. But the Packers are not great on rush defense. Don't know if anyone told you. And Sean McVay can scheme a run game. Don't know if anyone told you that as well. I think that it's keeping it close and having a lot of time possession. And I know this standard boring, this has been the same way to win a game for 30 years situation. But I don't think they can get into a shootout and expect to win the game. So that means you've got to go the other way. You need a couple of turnovers and you need Cam Akers, if available, to run for 120 yards. And is that possible? I don't know. I think me and you need to be honest here. I don't think we've believed in the Packers since we started this show, which is about 6 years ago. But they should win the game. But I think it could be probably close. So I'll probably take the Rams to cover. I'll probably take the under. I'll probably take the under as well. Just, I think it'd be like a 2017, 21-17 kind of game.
Was LaFleur at Washington with McVay back in the day?
Probably because that's how this works, right? Because we kept Jake Gruden and got rid of Sean McVay because he was a really good head coach and the other guy was a lame duck.
Yeah, it's the Shanahan tree, isn't it? Just thinking that
it is. Yeah,
really matters.
It is. Although don't tell Sean McVay that because he's created his own tree now. But yeah.
Yeah, I just think that these offenses conceptually might look a bit similar to each other, because of, say, the Shanahan effect. They'll obviously have their own wrinkles to it. The problem being is that one of them is being orchestrated by Aaron Rodgers, and the other one is being run by Jared Goff, who will start because the other kid, was it John Woodley or whatever his name is, Worsley? I can't remember. Ron Worsley can't play because he was dinged.
Is he definitely out?
He's out.
Is that been confirmed?
Yeah, quarterback got hit in the head very early in a playoff game against the Seahawks. Sounds familiar. But yeah, so Jared Goff will play. But yeah, I'm with you. I think I'll take the under because I can't see the Rams blowing the doors off them, and maybe or not. I say running, get the ball. They can do enough to keep it close, but ultimately, I think the Packers will have too much.
Matt LaFleur was the Washington professional football team's quarterback coach between 2010 and 2013.
So, yeah, there was a crossover there.
In the Mike Kyle zone.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was quarterback coach of Robert Griffin in his MVP year.
Right.
Because that was 2012, wasn't it?
Yeah. Rookie of the year, you mean?
Rookie of the year, sorry. Yeah. He was the quarterback coach at Notre Dame in 2014. Okay, anyway, random. Next game, Neil, which I believe is the best game of the weekend and the one I'm looking forward to most, which may mean I may have to have 14 coffees on Saturday, is Ravens at Bills. And Bills are favoured by just 2 points, and the over-under is 50 points.
Awesome.
The question I've got on this game is whose narrative changes after this game, Neil? Lamar or Josh?
Now, as people know, I am asked occasionally to write for Ravens Wire.
Every now and again, 3 times a week.
3 times a week, yeah. So obviously in the course of those duties, this week I've been doing the scouting report on the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, in case you didn't know, in case you haven't seen it, the Bills' offense is incredible. Especially when passing the ball. We've talked about this in recent weeks. The transformation of Josh Allen into an all-round field general is one of the most surprising things we've ever seen. He got a monkey off his back last week by winning his playoff game. He was very good. He wasn't excellent. He made some mistakes, left a few plays out there. But he was the driving force behind it. Lamar Jackson got his first playoff win as well. So as you say, this is a match between a team that is determined to pass the ball in a modern type of way and a team that wants to run the ball, but again in a modern type of way. It's strength on strength because, as I say, it's an excellent pass offense against a very good Ravens pass defense. I don't know about this one. Obviously, I'm not going to say heart and head because that would imply I'm emotionally attached, and I'm not. I'm dead inside. I have no emotions to spare. I don't like saying that the Ravens are going to be out of it because we've seen they can hit on big plays. Their big plays usually are running plays, whereas we know that the Bills can go very quickly through the air and will ignore the run if they don't feel they need to do it. I just wonder about the elements. It's a totally new environment for Lamar. He's never played in this type of weather before. The Bills' defense is not great. It's middle of the road at best.
This is Lamar's third year, right? Or
yes.
Second year and a half, I guess.
Second full year, yeah.
Yeah. He plays in Baltimore. Every year he plays Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. And he's never played in the snow.
No.
It's wild.
Mm.
He went to Louisville, which is Kentucky. Okay, not the coldest place in the world. I read that and I was like, whoa, wouldn't have expected that. It's a narrative buster. I think, Lamar's 24 years of age, the same age as Joe Burrow, and was seen as some kind of playoff choker for losing in his first, losing playoff games. Josh Allen, as you have always said, loves a blue smarty in playoff time, and let's hope he puts them down. But this should be fun. I'll be honest, I'm rooting for Buffalo hard. Not because I've got anything against the Ravens, just because I'll be rooting for the Browns. Do you know what I mean? Imagine a Browns-Bills AFC title game. It's wild. It's just 1990s tastic.
Are all the AFC teams left likeable, whereas the NFC teams left? I don't know whether it's
depends who you speak to.
Conference.
Right? I think if you speak to me and you, you like the Ravens because they pay you.
No, they don't.
You like Buffalo because they're not New England. You like Cleveland because who doesn't? And the Chiefs are big red, right? So of course you like all these teams. I'm not 100% sure if you spoke to Sully from Patuxi and Big Dave, the Darth Vader lookalike from Oakland, if they would agree with you. But I do understand your sentiment.
Yeah, because as I say, Aaron Rodgers has his detractors.
They're here, and most of them are on this show.
Yeah, and of course, the wokest mother in the room is one of them as well, of course. And some people don't like the Saints, or people who run the Saints, we don't like them. Some people aren't big fans of the quarterback of the team the Saints are going to be playing, and some people may have PTSD from various playoff games against the Bucs that they're not going to forgive them for as well. So it just seems to me to say that the NFC is, it's basically, I'm banking, I'm praying for an AFC winner because I can live without any of the NFC teams winning the Super Bowl.
You've forgotten about the Los Angeles Rams because everybody loves a smart ass head coach who thinks he's cleverer than everybody else.
Yeah, can't get enough of them. Taking his shirt off in Hard Knocks for no reason other than he knew he was on the camera on Hard Knocks.
Back to Ravens against Bills.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to take the Bills. I'm going to take them to cover because it's 2, so I think it could be 3. I'm going to take the over because I think it's going to be fun. I could see it being 30-27.
Yeah, this will be a good game. It will be a high score game. I think this will be the game that lives up to the hype. Mm-hmm. And I'm just not prepared to put my name to a prediction for it.
Congratulations, your employer will be proud of you. It's like
they do not pay me a penny.
Yeah, whatever. This is my story, and I'm sticking to it. It's like you like Kirk Herbstreit when he does college game day, and he's not allowed to pick one of the games because he's calling it later in the night.
Kirk Herbstreit, by the way, who at least was it in the build-up to the college playoff game, said he had no idea about the draft prospects because he hasn't even bothered looking at them.
Because that's not his job.
I admire that honesty, my friend.
That's not his job, right?
You watch college football.
Yeah, he does, but he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to project them to be good in the NFL. Yeah. That's a different skill set. Browns at Chiefs, Neil. Chiefs favoured by 10. Over under 56 and a half. Can someone say Patrick Mahomes points? How do the Browns keep this close?
The Browns keep this close by basically making Mahomes' life a misery The Chiefs' offensive line has not been good for weeks, which is, further exasperated by the fact that Patrick Mahomes takes 15 steps backwards on every play. It doesn't really matter because he can still make the throw, but ultimately, I think Big Red quite likes the timing he's designed for these plays and would like you to be where he wants you to be. But I digress. We know what the Browns want to do. They want to run the ball. They want to control time of possession. And basically want to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field for as long as possible. The problem with that approach is that you can have the ball for 13 minutes and a half. He only needs those 2 minutes and he's going to score. You're only going to score once probably and have to be perfect in that quarter. If this turns into anything approaching a shootout, you've got to favour the Chiefs. The Chiefs have not blown a team out for weeks. They've not covered. I think it was in their last 7 games. Now, the problem we have with Andy Reid in the playoffs, leading up to the playoffs, is that once, and we saw this back in his days in Philadelphia as well, once his team has clinched, they tend to switch off. And only occasionally have they managed to switch back on when the playoffs have started. So you run the risk of going in cold with an offensive line that is made up mostly of UDFAs against Myles Garrett. Now, he's probably going to have to do this alone because there's no Olivia Vernon on the other side. Myles Garrett is a wrecking machine. And if they let him dictate to their offensive line, then this game's going to be closer than the Chiefs would like. Do I see it happening? No. Could I see it happening? Yes. But I just think that ultimately we're going to see enough from the Chiefs that Baker Mayfield's going to have to make more plays that he probably would like than probably Stefanski would like him to do.
Yeah, I think for the Browns to win, you want chunk plays by Baker Mayfield, but not lots of them. And you want to be able to run the ball consistently with Chubb and Hunt. And you need Myles Garrett to be Myles Garrett, right? I think, the problem is, there's a multitude of problems, but let's go with 2. The Chiefs had a bye week, right? So it's time to dust off the Andy Reid after a bye week narrative, which is an all-time great, as I think he's about 702 after a bye week. And also, how many points do the Browns have to be ahead before you're satisfied that the Chiefs are dead? Because as last year showed, they went behind 10 points or more 3 times and won 3 times.
By double digits.
So, the Browns can have the ball for 28 minutes of the first quarter and score 14 points and be tying 14 all going into the half and not having the ball back in the first, and the Chiefs could get the ball to start the third quarter. This is an issue. This is the situation you come up against when you're built like the Browns and you're built like the Chiefs. Is that the Browns are very good. They are really, really good, and I think Kevin Stefanski's probably coach of the year. But the Chiefs can be so explosive, it's unreal.
I think it doesn't help as well the fact that the Browns have some of the worst safety play in the NFL, and the Chiefs have this guy called Kelsey, who's really good against good safety play. So, and you have him, and they have this really quick guy called Tyreek Hill, who teams persist in trying to play man coverage against. Why are you doing this to yourself? You just make yourself look stupid. It's in the areas of which the Browns can't afford to be less than perfect, they are less than perfect, and it's going to hurt them. Does that mean this season's been a failure for the Browns? Absolutely not. This is their glimpse into where they want to be.
Yeah.
So they will get that look at, okay, this is what we need to, this is the type of team we need to beat if we get here again and when we get here again. So we've seen it, we go away, we improve, and we go again next year.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs win by more than 10, and I think it's under 56. What I will say is, Neil, your team's offense was absolutely horrific this year, right? My team's offense, although we won a few games, was absolutely horrific this year. I don't understand how everybody knows who Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill are, and every time I watch the Chiefs, 3 times Travis Kelce will catch it with no one within 5 yards of him. And every time my tight end makes a play, and he was really good this year, he's got 3 men draped around him, and it's a contested catch. I don't understand how this works. I assume it's voodoo, but I would like it to stop. Final game, Neil. WWE retirement match, Ultimate Warrior versus Macho King Randy Savage, WrestleMania 7. Or Bucks at Saints. Saints -3, over-under is 52.
The Likeability Bowl.
What? Yeah.
The Likeability Bowl.
There's great pictures of this one, which is Tom Brady and Drew Brees aged, where Drew Brees looks 800 and Tom Brady looks the same age. Or my even favourite picture of players at 43 who had won a playoff game, him and George Blanda, and George Blanda looks 740. He looked like he'd had the toughest paper round ever.
Yeah, as I say, George Blanda in those 43 years, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that George Blanda didn't go to bed until he was 38. He crammed a lot into those 43 years, which, if you ever read any history of the Oakland Raiders or LA Raiders on, his time with the Texans and the Bears, yeah, he lived. The thing is, that picture, to see that age progress one, Drew Brees looks like Steve Jobs, whereas Tom Brady looks like Brett Favre.
Yeah, it's scary, right?
It was worrying.
So the question is that these two teams have met twice before, and the Saints have absolutely boat raced the Bucks twice. How do the Bucks stop it from happening again?
Basically, the Bucks say, "Go on then, Drew, you beat us," because he can't. I don't understand the Bears, why they had, when they're playing the safeties and the corners, just, say to him, "Beat us over the top, Drew. Go on. You throw it over the top. We'll just stay here, 8 yards off the line of scrimmage. You throw over the top. Go on." Because he can't. And, it's... I'm doing it wrong. The man suffered a catastrophic injury, to his ribs and his liver and his soul, whatever, what happened to it. I've never thrown an NFL football properly, because I can't. I've got small, diddly little girl hands. That's not sexist. I just mean little girls, like my little girl's hands. So I can't throw a ball. I would imagine trying to throw a ball when all your lungs are broken. It's probably your lungs are have collapsed, your ribs are broken, and your heart is screaming out no. And you've got big buggers running at you. I'd imagine it is difficult to throw the ball. Now, we know that the Bucks are not a team to be run on. So you think, well, that just basically means, short dinking and dunking. Well, yeah, that's fine then. But, again, we come to the problem of you can dink and dunk all you want. The Buccaneers are just going to go aerial. And, early and often. Because they've got the weapons to do it. So the way they do it is literally, it almost has to be a case of the Bucks have to just say, it's going to be a shootout. We may as well commit to it.
I had an amazing stat about these two teams, that Drew Brees and Tom Brady throw the ball the quickest in the pocket, on average 2.4 seconds. Tom Brady's average depth of target on that is 9 yards, which makes him number 1 in the NFL. Drew Brees is 6 yards and makes him 34th. There's only 32 teams. The Bucks just need to be the Bucks, right? But maybe not on defense. Let's not get annoyed, Todd. Let's not blitz a lot, Todd. Let's not just play two eye safety, Todd.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Let's think about this. But, they have to do better at throwing the ball. And Bruce always says, my guys are better than your guys, let's go. And in the past 2 games, Lattimore and the others have been better than Godwin and Evans. That needs to change. If it changes, let's whisper it. It might be because of Antonio Brown. We don't like to say that, but it might be because of that. I'm going to pick the Bucks here because it's a playoff game and Tom Brady's playing, and can't pick the Pats. They can't pick the Pats this year, so I may as well pick Tom Brady until otherwise informed. I think it's a shootout though, so I'll take the over of 52.
Yeah, I am wondering what decision will go against the Saints at what point in the game that they will blame the ref for that. And then after that decision, they will then go and do something stupid at their own end, like not cover a fella in the end zone or, throw interceptions, but it will be the ref's fault. I'm looking forward to that. Sorry? I'm coming out hot, although I am starting to fade. It's been a long show. As I say, the Bucks you can't just sit in zone coverage and say to Drew Brees, go on then, pick us apart, because he will. He doesn't
wants
have
to throw it 5 yards. That's what he wants to do. Yeah, you say so. We're going to man up, and you're going to have to throw. So they're going to have to beat us. Okay, because he's not going to run if it's in man. So I'm also going to take the Bucks. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. Oh, piss off! Please spare me this narrative. That's not why I'm picking the Bucks. By the way, I'm not picking the Bucks because the Saints won the other 2 games. That's not why I'm picking them.
Exclude me from this narrative, if you will. I just think offensively, I think the Bucks have got more. And you would hope that Todd Bowles has learned his lesson if he wants to be a head coach. We go back to what you do with defensive head coaches, though. So, this one, I think it'll have potential to be high scoring, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was lower than people think. But the higher scoring it goes, the more it favours the Bucks.
Come on, let's be honest. We all want Rodgers versus Brady in the NFC title game. So let's see if we can get it. Neil, I think that's it. I think we both picked the same 4 teams. So I think we've both picked NFC title games of Bucks at Packers and Bills at Chiefs.
I've gone for Chiefs. I've gone for to be determined.
Oh, to be determined against Chiefs. Okay, shit bad. So there we go. Hope we will discuss them next week. And if one of the teams gets through in that Baltimore game, if they're not still playing by the time the next show goes on, according to Neil, he may pick someone for the Super Bowl. We shall see. We will also probably talk head coaches next time. Neil, before that point, where can people catch you?
Find me on the Twitter at endupton13. Stuff out on Ravenswire. The only stuff I will have out on Numberfire will be the Super Bowl odds tracker, which is getting easier to write every week. Because it's weird. There's fewer and fewer teams. It's almost like there's some kind of elimination going on. So find me on Twitter, shout at me. And by the way, as well, if I'm writing tweets about how the Seahawks aren't very good because they weren't very good, and you come at me with a pointless response, I'm not answering it.
Good man.
If Rutherford Johnny says, although it's biologically impossible, Jalen Ramsey is actually DK Metcalf's dad, and I retweet that, and you send me a clip of DK Metcalf scoring a touchdown while Jalen Ramsey wasn't in coverage on him, I'm not answering you.
Bravo. By the way, excellent for not responding, because it's easy to say, go F yourself, so I'm proud of you. And on that note, I'm going to be sick, and these top guys are out.